Hi folks, Mr. Teslonian back here again. Now we're going to go through the results of the Bio-Crude oil project, and I'm going to start from right to left here and tell you just what we're looking at and where it came from. Let me zoom in on this a bit here. That final little test tube there is from the fourth and final collector on the system, the plastic jug at the very end. That is the entirety of the liquid that was gathered in that jug, so there was no other liquid but that amount right there, which is a really good sign. So let me go ahead and zoom in on the second one here. This auburn looking one right here is from that glass jug that we were looking at during the processing. You can see a very clear, nice auburn color to that. Almost resembles a refined state of fuel already. We'll go in here one more. This is going to be much more difficult to see. It is a blacker crude. The difference between it and the first one is that this first one, which I'll show you here in a minute, this crude in the first one is so thick that it'll actually stick to the glass, whereas the crude in the second one won't stick to the glass. So we'll go ahead and show you that here in just a moment. You'll see some evaporation taking place in the sunlight here. That's both any water that might have been in there and possibly any gas fumes also that are in there. So let me go ahead and back out here. You can see these three jugs over on the right here. That is the full collection that we've gotten out of the system. And I'm going to go ahead and take the camera in a little closer and show you just how much we ended up with from that run and the three different grades. Because remember, the fourth grade, all we ended up with was that little amount right there in that test tube. So not a lot to work with. So give me just a moment. I'll take the camera in here and I'll show you all these grades up close and show you how much we produced. Alright, we're looking at the first jug here. This is what was collected out of the second container, the second condenser jug, 5-gallon can at the very bottom of the downhill slope of the first extended pipe. You can see here, if I rock that, it's got a nice oily look to it. It's a little more liquid than the first catch, a little thinner, but it's very, very black, very nice. And if we look at it right here on the side, you can see just about how much we got out of that. And let's see, that is about 1/4 gallon right there. So let's go ahead and go on to this one. Now this is the glass jug that we had been looking at the whole time. And as you can see, if I move that around, there's a nice black layer on the bottom and this really golden honey-colored oil floating around up above that. And you notice if that black stuff and the honey color weren't both oils, the black would be on top. Typical if that was water and oil. So that was how much we collected, minus a little bit of experimenting from there, obviously. And then this is from the first one. This is a very thick crude oil. You can tell because I can put it up on the edge of the glass there, pull it back. You can see a lot of it left over behind on the glass. Still a little bit of water in there that we're going to condense out of this now that we're going to put this through the refinery. So if you look at that jar, we ended up with not too bad, a little bit there. What is that jar? About a 1 quart, maybe a 1.5 quart jar, so I'm not sure. Maybe a 1/2 quart to a quart of really thick crude there out of that one. So if we made a total measurement here between the three, we probably ended up with just under a 1/2 gallon of crude oil, minus also what I have here. So let me go ahead and pull these test tubes up one by one here and show you the consistency and the color up close. So you can see from the fourth and final collector here, it's a very thin colored, almost rusty looking liquid, very thin, very viscous, not much consistency to it. Let's go ahead and grab the second container here. You'll notice a really beautiful golden color to that fuel. It's about the last of where the oils really collect, a higher grade of oil. Alright, you can notice how thin it is. It doesn't stick up on the glass all that well. Let's go to the second catch here. This is where we start getting into a little bit darker crude. And you'll notice in there, if I move that around, it will actually color the glass but won't fully stay on it. That's a pretty good indicator to the quality of fuel you get there. Very liquid. Alright, and fourth and final one here. As you can tell, if I roll that onto the glass, say towards us here, it'll actually stay and coat the glass. As you can tell right there by the streak running down it. That's a very thick crude. You can tell when I try to roll it there, it doesn't roll like the rest. It's a very slow moving crude oil. So that's what we're collecting in the very first collector, and as you can tell, it'll sit up there on the glass. We got some evaporation bubbles in between it there, but I can show you from this side. Very dark crude oil. So the next step of this project now is to put this all through the refinery, which will actually be connected inside the wood stove that made all of this. So in the end, what we'll have is all the liquid being produced, the crude oil, will once again flow back through the wood stove, go through the refinery, out the refinery tower, and on the other side we'll have a high-grade fuel to use in any engine. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, this was Mr. Teslonian and the Teslonian Man Show.